critical analysis about why, and that's really where we want to get. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have the students actually re-watch the commercial. And in groups, we're going to have them record any comments that they feel are exclusionary or derogatory. To model this, when the commercial first comes on and we hear this.
Hello, ladies. Look at your man. Now back to me. Now back at your man. Now back to me. Sadly, he isn't me.
Stop. Model that for your students. It starts with, hello, ladies. Look at your man. Now back to me. Now back to your man. Back to me. Who isn't included in this statement? And talk to your students about that. They might feel a little awkward. What do you mean who's not included? He's talking to girls. But if we look past that, he's talking to girls who have a man. He's talking to men who have girls. He is not talking to girls who are single. He's not talking to men who are single. He's not talking to girls who have girls or men who have men. There's a lot of people left out of that statement. He's not talking to single moms. He's not talking to single dads. He's not talking to grandmas and grandpas, essentially. Maybe he is. But sort of guide that for your students and make them really think about, okay, you know, there is something more here. There is people being left out, and that's really where we want them to think. So we're going to watch the rest of the commercial a couple times as a class, and we're going to have students record things like that, where they feel like someone's being left out, or this commercial isn't about this person. So, what we're going to do then is, if students are a little bit stuck, this is sort of a side lesson, if students still don't get it, they're still confused, they still don't quite understand what we're trying to do, stop what you're doing, time out, sidebar, have each student, each group, record a list of what they think makes someone masculine or feminine. You can go either way with this commercial. What makes you a man? What makes you a woman? And you will get probably the sex joke, but try to get past that towards masculinity. I often separate gender from sex in my class. So we talk about gender as what it means to act like a man. Sex is just the parts, the pieces. So once you get past that, then what we can do is we can actually have them stop and think about, okay, well, this is what masculinity means according to Old Spice Guy. And this is what femininity means according to Old Spice Guy, and really model that for them. And hopefully what that will do is get them to think a little more beyond the words. It'll get them past that surface level again. It will be hard to break, depending on your grade. I teach grade 8. A lot of times it is hard to get past that surface level because they are only 13, 14 years old. But this is important because they are being focused for ad campaigns, and when they're focused for ad campaigns, then the problem becomes, if they only understand that surface level, then the ads are working perfectly and they're susceptible to all sorts of media. So we really want to get them past that, into that critical thinking stage that they're going to need, as scholars have said, for that 21st century level thinking, for those things we can't fathom. So after this lesson's complete, so after we've gone through this all and we've really looked at all these things, discuss who they feel is left out, why is that person left out? And what we're going to do is we're going to get them into sort of this idea of purpose and audience. So what we want to see is, if this is what they're structuring masculinity like, and this is who they're leaving out, then that gives us an audience. So here is our audience. Now we want to look at, what do we want to tell this audience right here? What do these people need to know? And we really need to look at that and say, why those people? And that's what we want them to do. So after we've developed that audience, once we figure out who's not included, then we know who is included. So we take out the people who aren't, people who are left, and then we want students to look at why those people. So as a class, what we're really going to do is look at and discuss what the purpose behind this ad is. So how is it selling again? We're going to go back into that. What is it using? What techniques is it using to sell? And why sell it this way? Why does that work for Old Spice? Because obviously these ad campaigns are popular. Why would they be popular? And it's really important to make sure the students understand Old Spice Guy isn't gender bias. Old Spice isn't gender bias necessarily, that these are actual reflections of our gender bias, or our what's called hegemonic masculinity. There is a plateau of masculinity in our society, and Old Spice is just hitting it, and they're using it. So it's important that students understand that, and they don't think that it's Old Spice being biased or racist, sexist, whatever, that these are a reflection and a farce on our society's inherent gender and racial biases, and that is crucial. So we don't want students writing and picketing Old Spice and claiming that they're sexist and they're gonna bring them down. We want them to understand that this is a reflection and this is a selling technique, and it works. So why does it work? Because it's innate in our society. And as a note, I just use the term hegemonic masculinity. When discussing cultural studies and critical thinking, I find it's really important to use appropriate vocabulary. Stop and help students define words that they don't understand. Make sure they know that they can interrupt you and say, "This is too big of a word, I don't get it." But Vicki Davis says in her online article that she has students look them up because that's a form of literacy, and we're always teaching literacy. So when we're using new words like hegemonic, then we want students to stop and we want them to look it up and we want to look at those words. So even a word wall, something, it's okay to use big words. We got to give our students credit, but we need to stop and make sure that we define them. Anyways, it's a hot day. I'm gonna go get a tan. Have a good one. I will see you tomorrow.